7 Toyota Tacoma Aftermarket Tire Facts. Were you aware? Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to Robmotive. Today, I wanted to talk about Toyota Tacoma Aftermarket Tire Facts. You know, these are things that I wasn't necessarily aware of when I first jumped into the aftermarket tire realm. So we're going to run through those real quick. But first, make sure you smash that subscribe button and click that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any upcoming videos. So let's get into it. Let's talk about Toyota Tacoma Aftermarket Tire Facts. You know, it's one thing I think that a lot of people, particularly if you're a modder, you want to make the truck look a little bit more aggressive, something that everybody does. So, number one, you really have to buy 5. You know, you have to think what happens if you get a flat. You know, you're out in the middle of nowhere, you get a flat tire, you have to pull one of those off, and they're bigger, typically. So you have your spare that came with the truck in the back, you know, up underneath it. You have to kind of reel off of there, but it's not the same size. Now, you can get by with it for a little while if you put it on the back. So let's say you got a flat on the front. So now you really have to change 2 tires. You got to take the one off the front, you got to take one off the back, you got to move it to the front, and then put your undersized stock tire on the back. That doesn't mean you can just leave it there. You've got to get somewhere where you can change it, because obviously the truck's going to kind of be riding a little weird. So you need to buy 5 tires, going to be more expensive. Also, storage. If you go real big, you're going to have to do a little cosmetic work underneath. Bend out those little arms under there so that you can pull that spare up underneath. It will fit, but you do have to do a little banging with the hammer under there. Number 2. They can be difficult to balance. You know, they're bigger, there's more rubber, they've got all those extra knobs and things on them, and tires are made in a tolerance. You know, they're always going to be off a little bit. They're not going to be perfect. So it can take a few times, and I know because I've been there, taking them into the shop and getting them balanced and rebalanced, and some of them never do balance. But most of the shops are pretty good about that. They'll actually replace the tire altogether if you run into that problem. But still, it's something you've got to screw with until they get it right. Number 3, I get this question a lot on the channel. How loud are they? Well, they are louder. They're a more aggressive tire. They've got taller tread. They've got bigger knobbies on there, if you will. So those are going to smack the ground as they're spinning. You're definitely going to get more noise, and if you're sensitive to that, you may not like aftermarket Toyota Tacoma tires. It's a fact. Number 4, they are rougher. They're definitely going to make your ride a bit rougher. Again, because there is so much more coming into contact with the ground. Sometimes they can be stiffer. You know, I first started with Nitto Ridge Grapplers, a great tire for off-roading. And that's because they are so firm. They have a stiffer, harder rubber compound. So they're going to be more harsh on the road. And if you don't do a lot of off-roading, if you don't do any off-roading, well, then you're going to have to live with that. So make sure you do your research if you're sensitive to ride quality, as I am, so that you get a tire that has maybe a little bit softer rubber compound so that you don't have to suffer through a rough ride. Number 5 on the Tacoma Aftermarket Tire Facts topic. Your speedometer is going to be off if you go with a bigger aftermarket tire. And let's face it, I think almost everybody goes with a bigger tire. That's kind of the reason to go with an aftermarket, more aggressive tire anyway, right? So you're going to get something that's a little bit bigger. Obviously, your truck is set up, programmed, if you will, for stock or OEM tires. So that's going to make your speedometer off. It's something that you can have corrected, but I have found through comments and things people have told me that most shops won't do that. It's not like you can just take your truck into Toyota, for example, and have them recalibrate those aftermarket tires. One way to do it is to buy a device. There's something called, I think it's the TAIGER Mini, something like that. There are others. But you can plug that in and adjust your tire size based on what you've put on the truck. Problem is, that's a couple $100 and you're messing around with the programming in the truck. Something that I'm not so keen on doing. Number 6, they're not so easy to change. You know, tires are heavy anyway, the wheel tire combination. About, I don't know, maybe 30, 40 pounds, something like that for stock. But when you go aftermarket tires and probably aftermarket wheels, you're going to bump that up to somewhere even as high I've seen as like 90 pounds. Now, you got to wrestle that thing around. And you know, when you're out in cold, snow and weather or pouring down rain, tires never go flat when the weather's perfect. You got to wrestle that thing around, and they are heavy. Sometimes so heavy that it's even difficult just to lift them up. I mean, after you get it in the bed of your truck, if that's where you're keeping it, you got to get it down. Then you got to get the other tire up there. They can be a handful to deal with. I've done it several times, and it can be difficult. Number 7, the last point, the last Toyota Tacoma aftermarket tire fact, they can be hard to find. If you get a flat somewhere, and let's say you're not in your home area, so you can't just take it home or limp home and then wait to get the tire, they can be difficult to get. Sometimes they have to be ordered. It can take up to 3 days, sometimes longer, depending on where they're at or how much you want to spend to have them rushed in to get them to the shop. So if you're on a trip and you're going somewhere and you're 10 hours away from home or something, and you have the unfortunate experience of getting a flat tire, you've popped that aftermarket tire on there, but you have to replace it, you could have a little bit of a layover in whatever little town you might happen to end up in. Something else to consider, particularly if you haven't gone with a 5th wheel tire setup so that you can just put it on and continue on your journey without having to worry about actually replacing it. Anyway, those are just 7 Toyota Tacoma aftermarket tire facts. Did you know? Were you aware of these? Leave a comment. I'd be curious. Also, if you did in the beginning, make sure, now's your chance, smash that subscribe button and click that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any upcoming videos. I do have 2 additional channels, Robmotive FST, all about full-size trucks, and Robmotive JT, all about Jeep Gladiators. Check them out, and if you're interested, please consider subscribing. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. Bye.